sideways, backwards, safe.
When Bukayo Saka came on, it did change a tiny bit more, as you saw. He came inside at one point and curved that ball at the goalkeeper. Saved, but that's okay. We've seen goals, a lot of goals in this tournament. That's more of a World Cup game. You have two teams on 3 points. One wanted to win, the other one knew that if they get a point, they might go through after what's last time, 16 years, I think it is. So
yeah, to the knockout stage,
they're going to battle for that. You saw Carlos Queiroz celebrating because 4 points for them, it's outstanding, especially getting one against England. So you can understand why Ghana went that way, and it was on England to try to open them up. But that's a proper World Cup game.
Are you surprised that they didn't make the breakthrough?
I said it when I chose my group, England, Ghana, Croatia, Panama, that Ghana is going to disturb England and Croatia to take points to go through, and that's what we're seeing now. This was a real game. People might say 0-0 is not a game because so far we have been spoiled by a lot of goals. This was a real game where we see Ghana defending very well, physically very strong. England trying with the possession, missing a little bit of magic on the sides. But do not take anything away from England. They had a good performance. But a draw was a good result, and for the game that we saw, so good game.
OK, Peter said don't panic to the England fans.
Yeah, I mean, don't panic at all to you and to all the England fans out there. But, you know, speaking of you in our pregame, you did a one-on-one explainer of what parking the bus is, right? And, you know, I know we throw that term around a lot. The reality is there's one thing to park the bus. It's another thing to be good at parking a bus. And this team knew exactly what they were going to do. They were drilled on it. They were connected. They were confident, and they executed ultimately in this moment. And so hats off to Carlos Queiroz. Keep in mind, came in late, but I think he recognized each game is different, but he needed to make sure that for this particular game, bend but don't break. You don't have any obligation to entertain anybody else out there, despite the fact that they didn't get the memo. This is the most entertaining, exciting World Cup ever. All right, we're going to have some duds every once in a while. To your point, as we get further and further in the tournament, it gets more serious and more serious and more serious. This was a serious game, although it wasn't necessarily an entertaining game. And not the end of the world for either of these teams, and in particular when it comes to Ghana. Thank you very much. Put that point in your pocket.
Yeah, and Thierry, parking the bus is a valid part of the game if
Indeed.
you do it well.
That bus had good seats. Very good seats, comfortable for them to defend.
It's a tour bus, beautiful. You know, Wi-Fi and everything was beautiful.
Thank you, gentlemen. In Toronto, later on, Croatia fans are getting...
I think there's little details throughout that game which Thomas Tuchel will definitely look at with the team and try and improve on, because, as Joe said, it's not a disaster at all. We'll qualify for the next round, so it's just there's things when we get into the later stages of the groups we need to improve and make sure we're better.
You said little details, and we saw pre-match those scenes of Jed Spence being shouted at by Thomas Tuchel in training, and then we saw him trying to kind of direct him in-game today, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I think at times there was a bit too much rotation. But then what we see in the game now is full-backs coming inside a lot. So if you look at Jed Spence here, so he plays the ball inside, and now Bellingham and Rice are in good positions. This is where you want your attacking players, in good positions to attack the back line. So Jed Spence comes into Declan Rice's position here, and now Declan Rice he sees him, so he's got a decision to make. So Declan Rice should go onto the top line and then create more space for Spence as he's got in there, but he doesn't. He comes short to get on the ball, and now you lose that attacking player in them attacking areas. So I think, and you look at Thomas Tuchel here, he's shouting at him. He wants him out wide. He doesn't want him in them positions where Declan Rice is. So now the difference here is Declan Rice is in the position.
So what you want him here?
Yes, so Declan Rice is in the good position. Jed Spence runs with energy. Now Declan Rice attacks the back line, and now all of a sudden England's in the penalty box, and they get opportunities to shoot from the edge of the box. So we get a good chance, we get a shot off. So just by squeaking in them position, Jed Spence realising Declan Rice is in there, I don't need to be in there. But if he does go in there, which can happen, Declan Rice, I think, then has to say, right, I'm going forward. Against Ghana, who was sat back, you don't need to be coming back and getting the ball off your centre-backs. You have to keep more players in the box.
The only thing I would say to that, you remember many times when we talked about Kieran Trippier playing on that left-back position, and sometimes it's not natural. Yes, the manager has said to him what he wants him to do and he wants him to overlap, but maybe he's not as comfortable as he wants to be in terms of going down the line on his left foot. You see on the other side, everyone wants to come back and then go on their preferred foot. But in terms of his energy and what he needs to do and the position he needs to go in, I totally agree with it. It's just sometimes when you're a fullback in those positions, I know he can play left and I know he can play right, but on his left foot, it might not be as comfortable if it was on the other side.
I completely agree, but that's where Anthony Barry said at half-time, patience. That's where, if you lose patience, you end up going into other players' positions. So I think keeping that patience, that's what he means in terms of staying in your position. When the ball comes down your side, use your energies to go forward. And Thomas Tuchel recognised that. He brought O'Reilly on, looked a lot more balanced. Madueke went on the left, got a couple of good crosses in the box. So I think he got the balance right in that period. But I just think when you've got a full-back coming into a number 10's position and number 10 coming to get the ball for centre-backs, you lose. You've got a full-back in the attacking area and your attacking players near your own goal. So it doesn't make sense to me. I think you have to have your attacking players near the goal.
You mentioned Madueke, and let's just pick up on that because, you know, there was kind of movement with Madueke within the game, wasn't to try and get the best out of him. We saw in the first half then him just getting in on the outside was what we wanted him to do, and towards the end of the first half he did.
Yeah, no, I think you want your wide players to
Okay, can we just pause
be
it there?
effective.
I think it's pause it there. What you're saying there, you just want him to be in that situation there, but you want him to be more direct and go down the outside?
Yeah, well, what I was saying first half is about Rashford, a left footer or a right footer on the right side. But look at Madueke here. Now he's going down the outside. Now you've got players in the box. He gets a great ball into the box, and you get an opportunity. So I think having a left foot on the left and a right footer on the right against a low block is more effective for me.
Why do you think he then took him out after, though, and brought Rashford on?
Yeah, he did. I think he's probably tired, and he actually didn't have the best of games. But
he seemed like he was at his freest when he was put on that left-hand side.
100%.
And he seemed like he could cause Ghana as much danger. So I think Thomas Tuchel will have loads to think about from that game. And there was so much in-game tinkering. Like, we're not used to that as an England team. So many things changed coming into the positions. So there was a lot mentally going on for those England players there. And they got there eventually, didn't they? But it just was a little bit slow to get there.
But I think what I said before the game about Tuchel's team talk being simple and not overcomplicated, sometimes on the pitch as well, that's what you need to do. So. Yeah. We've seen, since Pep Guardiola's been in the Premier League, we've seen lots of rotation and lots of players interchanging positions. But sometimes you're better saying to a player, stay in your position, make the pitch big, have wide players out wide, get it out wide, get players in the box, get the ball in the box. Sometimes actually stay in your position.
I think especially when they were going to be so rigid, the Ghana team, they didn't care who they were up against, whether they were up against the left back or the right back had come over and was playing left wing. They were just going to play in their position. That's where England confused it a little bit.
OK, let's get some reaction then from the England camp. Declan Rice is talking to Kelly Summers.
Well, Declan, is frustration the overriding emotion at full-time?
Yeah, I think so. It's always difficult when you play against 11 behind the ball as deep as they was. You've got to find solutions, and last 10 minutes we probably found more than we did all game, and we was unlucky not to score. But look, we stay positive, we keep going, and we still have a great chance to top the group against Panama, so positivity all round.
Why do you think you couldn't find those solutions today when you did so well against Croatia?
Sorry, say that again?
Why do you think you couldn't find those solutions today?
You have to give credit to Ghana sometimes. 5-4-1 off the ball, very, very compact, tight spaces to play through. But of course, and on the other hand, maybe we can do a little bit more with the ball and create a bit more. But it's tough, they're good players, like we said that. It was never going to be an easy game, and now we have one more in the group to finish top, so we need to be positive.
It's the fourth tournament in a row where England have drawn their second group match. You've got to finals in 2 of those tournaments. Does that perhaps show that there's no need to panic, it's all on track?
Yeah, loads of top nations drew their first game. There's no need to be negative or downbeat. We need to stay positive, keep going, recover before the next match, and that's what we'll do.
Thanks, Jack.
Coming back to earth with a bump after all that excitement around Thomas Tuchel's side after that performance against Croatia. This was same old England. Drab, slow, very, very uninspiring indeed.
So what, there was an
element of possibility?
Well, it was a little better against an ageing Croatia side. Right. This was the normal. This was more the norm. England, dull as dishwater.
Yes,
unable to have the brains or the guile to break a team down. It's not always easy. That sits deep, which Ghana were doing, particularly in the first half. They did not have the wherewithal to break that down. Now, this was always going to be the argument, and it could be as we get later in the competition. Some of the players they left at home were not informed players. Mm-hmm. The Fodens, the Cole Palmers, and 1 or 2 others. But you could argue they're the profile of player when a game's like this that might be able to unlock a defence. You could argue that. This was better in the second half, but it never inspired me to think, do you know what? I would really worry about this England team in the knockout stages. That's what, when I was looking at this game today, I was thinking, do you know what? England will get to the knockouts, we know that, comfortably. But when they face one of the elite or better teams, I think there's some easy holes to find in this England team going forward and defensively.
If you look at the tournament so far, the best performances have been the ones where teams have started quickly. The United States, Canada, Portugal today. We saw the Netherlands against Sweden.
France didn't start quickly against Senegal.
I said the good performances that we've seen. The bad performances have been when teams have started too slow, haven't passed it forward, haven't had runners going beyond. And that's what England did today. The first 20 minutes, England had all the ball. Ghana dropped deep and they passed it round the back, down the side, back again. Harry Kane should have been playing right on the offside line. Bellingham should have been playing right up with him. Rice should have been another 10 yards further. Anderson shouldn't keep coming getting the ball back off the centre. He didn't need to. The two centre-halves are against no forward, really, so they could just pass it at will. The full-back should be higher up the field. It was too slow, it was painful, and there was no dynamism about the play. Then, when they show urgency in the last 10, 15 minutes, they do the things they should be doing. They get the ball forward, there's forward runs, they get crosses in the box. O'Reilly, who I was saying should have been on much earlier because from left back he makes those runs into the box, is winning balls in the air. Harry Kane has a couple of headers as well. It was much better in the last 20 minutes, but they've left it too late. You have to start that way and then you can control the game.
Why didn't they start that way?
Because so many teams, it's the philosophy of the coach, of the players. Oh, they're going to drop off. Be patient. I hate the word patience when people say, oh, you've got to be patient. No, you don't have to be patient. If a team wants to sit back there and you've got all the play, make them defend. Keep getting crosses into the box. Keep getting players in the box. Make them have to defend. If they get the right ball, you get a player attacking it, you go and score. Now you can be patient because you're 1-0 up. You control the game. They've got to come out and play now. Don't be patient at the start of the game. Be positive. And that's what England weren't today. That's what Spain weren't in their first game. That's what Portugal weren't in their first game. They try and then rush it at the end. Too late.
He's a bit argumentative today because he hasn't got the result he wanted.
Well, exactly.
He's in a bit of a mood. He's got a long day and he's hedging his bets for an argument over England.
Well, he's going to get it.
I don't think I'm hedging my bets. I agree with you that it was just turgid.
Right, but
the whole performance was turgid.
Here's part of the build-up play that I don't understand, right, in the first half. Madueke was giving them a little bit of width on the right-hand side, right? So he was giving them a bit of width. Anthony Gordon was supposed to give them width on the left. He's in the team because of his pace. Yet Anthony Gordon was tucking in quite considerably to allow the fullback to get the width. But really, the fullback today on the left side's Jed Spence. Not only is he right-footed, he's not a very good crosser of the ball. What's the point? And you have a wide player who gives you width, who gives you pace, and he's coming into an already congregated area where Ghana had a lot of players. There was Kane, there was Bellingham, there was Gordon, there was midfielders in there already. It was congested, and Gordon's coming in to give England width on the left-hand side from the fullback. The fullback that can't cross the ball with his left foot.
Well,
What's the point in that?
We were having this conversation.
It's absolutely bonkers.
We were having this conversation at half-time. I think you'd gone and got some drink and all sorts of stuff, but we were having the conversation, weren't we?
I was working.
Gordon should have been wide, as Craig said, and given the width, and they really should have made the change at half-time. O'Reilly coming in to the left-back position and doing what he does for Manchester City. So when the ball's on the other side, and Madueke was having a bit of joy, he got a couple of good crosses in, O'Reilly's coming in at the far post doing what he does for Man City, winning balls in the air at 6'5", making the run from out to in. And then Gordon could have been wide on the left-hand side. But they didn't make that change until it was a little bit too late. And he did have one header, I think it hit the bar, or the keeper made a great save. And that's what Thomas Tuchel, in my view, should have seen as we saw it at half-time.
He hasn't got a full-back. I mean, Reece James on the other side, I suppose, but he hasn't got a full-back on the left-hand side that's going to maraud up the left wing, and I include Nico O'Reilly in this because he's not a full-back, really. That'll maraud up the left wing and whip a ball in. Right? They haven't got that, so they're a little predictable on that side. I mean, Dan Bunn's left-footed, he's not going to do that. I mean, he can play left-back, but he's not going to do that. So they don't have, Luke Shaw was omitted from the squad, they don't have that player that can...
So as to your point, Gordon should have been given the width And O'Reilly, when he came on, as he did, should be making the runs into the box when the ball's on the other side. So he's playing inside.
You need width in a lot of games, but you need it particularly when a team's playing as defensive and as tight in the middle as they are, because that's the outball round the outside. But it seems England it takes them so long to figure that out. Look, it was a disappointing performance. They're on 4 points. They play Panama next. Everything's rosy in the garden in terms of going through. What was worrying was that even against a limited Ghanaian side, was how open they were when they coughed up possession in the second half. And if Ghana had a little bit more pace up front and a little bit more quality, maybe they could have just punished this England side today. A punishment that I think you won't get away with. If you were to play, maybe Portugal, who don't have a quick front man in Ronaldo, but they have others. If you play France or Spain or Argentina or one of these teams, and you get caught as open as that, I think that's where the English Achilles heel may come, is that it's in the defence.
What you asked me, I think we were on the show yesterday, you said, what do you want to see from England tomorrow? And our words were dynamism, get the ball forward quickly, get crosses into the box, play at a tempo, dominate the game, play the game in the opponent's half. England did none of that.
But I still don't... Why?
Because they sort of think, we've got easy possession, we don't want to give the ball away. Players don't want to make that run because I can get easy possession. Easy possession doesn't win you football games. You've got to do something with it. And England today didn't do something. And Harry Kane, in those situations, is not good for the team because Harry Kane, we don't need another player coming off. England don't need another player coming off and switching the play. He needs to be high up on the pitch. He needs to be breaking off sidelines, as did Bellingham, because there's no point Bellingham coming short to get the ball. We've got 4 or 5 players that are coming short to get the ball. Bellingham needs to make the runs through the inside right position. Kane could be making the runs through the inside left position. And even if you don't get on if you play a couple of balls over the top on the slight diagonal, the defence then go, oops, and there's more space. Now midfield players can get on the ball. It didn't happen.
We've seen so many better performances from teams in this competition so far. And you even look at Portugal and you talk about the wing backs and what they offered going forward today. It's difficult to put an argument up that when this England side faces a proper team, that they're going to be able to find that little bit of magic which they lacked today.
I mean, you can imagine Anthony Gordon tucking in and Nuno Mendes running down that left-hand channel and whipping balls in for fun, and the opposing team try to figure out how they're going to cope with this, which they didn't have. England have good players in certain positions and ones that you would question in others. I mean, I think he was resting Stones today. I think he's protecting John Stones somewhat because of the lack of game time he's had, and I think he likes him as they go later in the tournament with his experience. Not quite sure why the change was needed at left back, but that's another question. And I think England can play better and will play better in games that are open, and will give some of those teams that they are fighting against, will give them problems. But I would worry about the decision-making of the back line against quality opponents, which they haven't really faced yet, because Croatia are a sort of ageing side. They're decent but not brilliant, and Ghana are limited. Once you come against, for example, that Portuguese midfield who you're not going to outpossess, even if you're, Elliot Anderson and Declan Rice, you're going to be chasing that ball around a little bit. And they can pick open a defence, particularly with midfield runners. And we don't need to talk about France. And Spain have that as well. So I think England they're one of the runners and riders, but they're certainly, they're not going to be at the forefront, I don't think. They are where they are. I would put them down probably around 4th favourites at the moment.
Would you have them that high? Because what we got France, Spain, Argentina, Portugal. It's difficult to put an argument that they're better than any of those teams.
I think you could. I don't know. I think there's a very it's similar to me with Portugal.
Do you think? Really?
Yeah.
What we've seen in previous
you don't
tournaments.
think so?
No, I think Portugal are much. You just spoke about the midfield. You compare those two midfields.
Portugal have their own issues. Ronaldo scored 2 goals today.
Yes.
But there's bigger questions going forward against better players. They also have 1 or 2 issues at the back at times. But I there's somewhere in that vicinity, I think.
England will play better against better teams, I think, in terms of when the game becomes, when they know what their jobs are. We know we've got midfield players are going to fight against their midfield players, and we're going to try and win the ball back. Then we're going to counter-attack. England struggle when someone like Ghana today, and Carlos Queiroz said, OK, go on, what are you going to do? How are you going to break us down? And England were too predictable. They didn't play enough balls forward. But also, they just played in front of Ghana. Couldn't believe their luck. They set themselves up to not be beaten, and they thought, we might get away with it. And after 20 minutes, they thought, England are playing exactly how we want them to play.
I thought his team selection was wrong. I thought he changed it way too late. His changes, I thought, were too similar. I think you've got to mix it up. And I've seen Thomas Tuchel's teams, and I've seen him change game. We saw that against Croatia, against a low block like Ghana. I just want to give them some credit, by the way, because they deserve a huge amount of credit because of the way they played. But come on, is that it? Is that the best that we've got going forward in a low block like that? And I sat there, and we sat there and watched it. And I said to you, I'd keep the same team at half-time, and at 49 minutes and something like 48 seconds, I said to you, Joe, I've seen enough. I wanted to see something, and there was no urgency. And he left it until I've got the subs here.
Well, it was hydration break, wasn't it? Around that.
He made his first sub on 65, and I said to you in the break, I think he'll leave it somewhere about 60. After 50 minutes, I'm going, nope. If they've not listened to you, we're seeing the same old tripe. Same old tripe turned out, and he left it until 65 minutes. And it was too little, too late. Yeah, we had a rally at the end. You'd expect Ghana got something to hold on to. They're not going to break the shape. I thought they defensively were excellent.
How slow were we? How slow were we? It was Southgate all over again. It was genuinely, I was sat there going, oh my God, this is another Southgate performance again. After the brilliance that I saw against Croatia, I'm thinking, here we go. The country's alive. The player is alive. We've got a new team. Same performance I see every single time we turn up in a major tournament.
Do you know what?
Absolute guff.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a little bit of a qualification game. You know, where you might go away to Ukraine, or we go away to, I don't know, wherever we go. It reminds me a little bit of that. And England at a major tournament, we will throw one of these performances in, and you cannot be brilliant every time. But this is a knee-jerk reaction from me, because I felt that Thomas Tuchel should recognise what Ghana were, one, going to do, and two, when it isn't working, change it. And I think the Jed Spence at left back, and then I felt, and you and I will have this conversation in a second. I felt sorry for Anthony Gordon, because the ball to him was so much slower in the build-up.
Nah, he's poor, mate.
It's like the build-up.
Nah, he's
like
poor.
Pass.
I know it's slow, but he was poor.
But by the time the ball reaches him, their shape has shuffled across. And it's like, where's he going to go? The best passes of the game in the first half were out to Noni. That whip pass where it gets out to Noni, and Kane did a beautiful pass early on, and the ball went out to Noni. So I'm going, right, you've got a 1v1 because everyone is over the other side of the field.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Goes. Cuts back, plays inside. That's what they want you to do. Take him on the outside. You've got the space. We've worked it out there. They can't have players everywhere. Once that ball makes, and it's a brilliant pass, his touch is good. He's got a brilliant first touch, and he gets his head up, and he can see the grass.
It's too safe. It's too safe. You said it last week, Jace, against Croatia. Let them fly, and they went and flew. Tuchel said at half-time, I don't care if we get beat. Let's go and play. Go and get at these teams. Go and make something happen. And then all I saw tonight, sideways, backwards, sideways, backwards, safe passing. Keep it, sideways, backwards, sideways. Give it away. I'm like, go and have a go, make something happen in 1v1 against Ghana.